In this lesson, we're going to go over a text editor called Atom. There's a direct link to download Atom in the Resource tab. Going to the Atom's website at atom.io, the moment I get there, there's a Windows download link because I am using a Windows machine. If you happen to access this with a Macintosh, it will give you a Mac download tab. Downloading is fairly straightforward. Click on the link, save the file, open it up, let it install. When it installs, there's going to be an icon like this, a little green atom named Atom. Click it open. And at default, this is what you will see. Now, Atom is made by the guys that do Github, and it works with Github, but we are not going to use it for that purpose. We're simply using it for a text editor. Go ahead and close up all those tabs. So all you have is this Project tab on the side. Click on Add Folders, and what I'm doing is I'm going to the workspace, and I'm going to load the BP Synth init project folder we were using in the previous lesson with our IDE. Select Folder, and under the Project tab we can see our project. I can shrink this down if I want to, or I can start treeing it out by pressing on the arrows. Now what's interesting is I have my IDE here, and I have the BP Synth init project opened up, and you can see most of these folders and files are showing about the same way. But looking inside the IDE here, you can see that our code is pretty much black and white. There's some that are a little bit in different color here and there, but there are many features that the text editor can do that the IDE lacks, in my opinion. So let me minimize this, and let's go ahead and open up one of these files. Let's open up main.c, and we can see that the file is opened up in its own little column here. And one of the first things you'll notice is that the code is in different colors. Like functions are in orange. Sometimes the arguments are in purple. Or we have a macro that's purple. And what I like about this is after a while you get used to the way that they have colored the code for you so that you can quickly see what you need to get to. Another nice feature is next to the functions there's a small down arrow. If you click on that, it will shrink the code inside the function. Let me go ahead and expand it by pressing this other arrow, and it reappears. If we want to see another file, simply double click on it and another tab opens. Here's a third file and a fourth file, and we can go in between them fairly quickly. Now that seems like the IDE, where we can go between the files by clicking on the tabs. But here's something the IDE doesn't do. Let me go ahead and close some of these up. I'm going to right click. I'm going to split right. And now we have another column. I can do it again, split right, and now we have a third column. Or I can take this file out of this column and move it over to this column. Or I can take this file out of this column and put it into that column. The thing I really like about this is when I'm building code, I can go back and forth and click in between folders and sometimes see both of them at the same time if I need to. And when it comes to explaining the code, we're going to be using this a lot. Let me get the main.c back over here, and I'll go ahead and close this for clarity. I'll scroll up here, and I want to show you a couple tricks. In between user code begin private variable right here, I'm going to start typing unsigned integer, and look what happens. We have several different selections we can choose from. In other words, it's trying to do an autocomplete for me. Unsigned integer 8 was what I was after. I can click on that and it finishes it up for me. Or I could paste in something I already have saved on my clipboard. And now I've changed the code. Now let me go back to the IDE for a moment. And we see here under user code begin private variable, it's blank. Now let me go back to our editor. And because I added this in, we've changed the file. Up here on the tab, you notice there's a blue circle. That means we've made a change and it's ready to be saved. Go over here to File, Save. If I click Save, it will save that, or I can press Control S and it'll do the same thing. I'll go ahead and just use this for now, but in the future I'm going to use Control S. You'll notice that the little blue circle is gone. But let's go back to our IDE. Notice we got a pop-up that says the file's changed. I'm going to go ahead and click Replace Editor Content. And you see that now what I put in over here has now shown up inside of here. The IDE is updating the file because I changed the file over here in the Atom text editor. This can come in pretty handy, or if you're not paying attention, this could really mess things up. So be careful if you have both of these open at the same time and you click between them. You could end up changing things that you didn't want to change. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Something else I want to show you that it can do is when I close this and then reopen it, besides all this garbage that they try and tell you about every time, it opens up my project folder again that I had open when I closed it. So it's kind of handy that it remembers where you were at when you closed it. Now, if you don't like the dark coloring and wish to have something that is brighter, you can go over here to Settings, click on Themes. There are some themes already installed. Atom Dark is what we are using now. This is Atom Light. Now, the UI theme is like these windows here that we are using for settings in the project. If we were to click on our file here, you'll notice that it's still dark. Let me move this over, and notice when I do a split right, it makes a copy. So I can go ahead and close this one up. Under Syntax theme, that's this window here where we're doing the editing. I can change that to Atom Light also, and it will brighten it up as well. I can go back over here, change to Atom Dark, and it'll darken up all my user interface theme. So user interface theme is our system windows, and syntax theme is our editing window. There's a few others in here. Base 16, one dark, one light, solarized dark, solarized light. I'll go back to Atom Dark again. This is the one I feel more comfortable using. I'm going to go ahead and close the settings here. And on my project, I'm going to minimize it. And in an empty space here, I'm going to do a right click, add project folder, and I'm going to go to BP Synth Code, select folder. Now this is all the pre-built BP Synth projects that I've done that we're going to go over one by one that builds up our code to the final synthesizer code that we loaded when we first built the synthesizer. Notice that each one can be opened up, and you can continue to branch out the trees. And if I minimize this and then open it back up, everything's still back the way it was when I minimized it up here at the root folder. I can do it again here. And you can see how this can be handy as it remembers how it was when you opened it. Now if there's a folder here you don't want, you can just do a right click on it and remove project folder, and it's gone. But notice that the tab is still here. Now I do want to show you something here. I'm going to go ahead and just open this one up, and I'm going to find another main.c. Now you can see that not only is the name of the file showing, we can also see the entire location of the file if we have two files of the same name. This one says it's on the desktop. This one says it's on the C drive. Now if I close one of the main.c's, we can just hover over and see where it came from. So that comes in handy too. If you can just hover over and you can see what it is. So those are the main things I wanted to cover about Atom. We'll be using Atom a lot for the rest of the lessons.